Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kimberly Cox, and welcome to English Grammar, your summer class. So, this class takes place across 8 weeks, which means that the time is compressed and so is the material. The way that I've designed the course is to get easier. The first probably 3 weeks will be the most difficult because that's going to be a lot of the foundational information. So with English grammar, what we're doing is taking a language that all of us participate in and breaking it down into its tiniest components in order to be able to analyze how it operates. And that is actually really tricky. We're learning to kind of think about something we use commonly in a new way. So getting ourselves set in the foundations is going to be the trickiest part of the course, and that's going to happen across the first 3 weeks, really. Thereafter, we'll have fewer concepts every week because they're going to continue to reinforce what we've developed in those foundational weeks. So, my hope is that by the time we get to like weeks like 5, 6, 7, 8, it's going to be a little bit easier because you will hopefully have a strong foundation from the first part of the class. So, first off, just know that. I'm aware that it's a tough class. Looking at grammar is tough. So, my hope is that it's going to get a little bit easier as you go. Um, You guys should also know that in terms of due dates, I am very lenient. I know that between work commitments, family commitments, things come up. I've set all of the due dates throughout the next 8 weeks as Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday due dates. I am perfectly happy to grant extensions. Just email me and let me know you need one. You don't have to tell me why. Just reach out and say, hey, I need an additional 2 days or I need an additional week. I'm completely fine with that. The due dates are there so that you're not trying to kind of cram in everything on Saturday and Sunday. My hope is that they will help you kind of spread out work. The Wednesday due dates primarily are for assignments that you have due during the first week, and then for makeup points that you might try and get on unit quizzes. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit, in a little bit more detail. But just know that due dates are flexible, but that what I have set up is going to be Wednesday, Friday, Sunday deadlines for the coming week. So that's what you should kind of plan for if you're trying to balance time, but don't hesitate to reach out if you need a little bit of extra time on any assignment. Really, all you have to do is send me an email and I will adjust it. Um, we're also going to be using one kind of like bit of software outside of Canvas, and that's Perusall. Some of you may have used it before, some of you haven't. We'll only be using Perusall during the first week, and that's really so that way, if questions start coming up, you have a direct line to me. So with Perusall, what it kind of is a system in which I can upload documents or video. And as you watch them, you can kind of leave comments and you can also at me or at each other. So, what I like about it is, especially for a completely asynchronous course like ours, during that first week, it really offers us a point of contact. And so that's why you have those assignments set up there during that week. So, if questions come up, um, you can share them with me, and also so that I can get a sense of kind of how you're thinking about and looking at the material, so that if there are any gaps that I need to fill, I can do it before we move into some of the more specific and concrete content during the second week. In terms of the first week, the assignments that you have are going to be structured, like I said, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So by Wednesday, what I'm asking you to do is to read and comment on the syllabus in Perusal, and to take the Where Are You Starting quiz. So it's a completion-based quiz. You can kind of think about it as a pretest for those of you who are future educators. It should give us a sense of kind of where you're starting. So what your strengths and weaknesses are, so that way you have a better sense as you move through the class what concepts you might need to focus on. So those are the two things that are due by Wednesday. Friday, there are two videos that I'm asking you to watch and two chapters that I'm asking you to read, and I'm asking you to do all of that in Perusal. So, one of the videos will provide you kind of a history and backdrop on the evolution of the English language. One of the videos will read to you in various iterations of English as it's occurred across the years. And that one is actually quite fun. I always ask you guys to tell me at what point you start understanding the English. And then the two chapters are going to be ones that start to get us thinking about what we mean when we talk about grammar. So one of them deals with grammar myths, and one of them talks about the difference between prescriptive and descriptive grammar. And then for Sunday, you're going to have kind of the first set of practice quizzes that you'll have. So every week, I have it divided into like chapter reading that you're doing. Um, Quizzes based on those concepts that you're taking, and then an overall unit quiz that will kind of test you on all of those concepts across those chapters. So this week, what we're doing is we're starting with the basics. So we're going to be looking at the difference between lexical and grammatical categories, and you'll have a practice quiz that goes along with it. I've designed the practice quizzes so that they're completion based. You're not getting graded on like how many you get right or wrong. That's for you to know and for you to be able to try as many times as you want. You are just getting graded on whether or not you're answering yes to the last question, which is, did you take this quiz? So the practice quizzes are really designed to be that space where you have the freedom to kind of make mistakes and to figure stuff out. And you shouldn't get the same questions over and over again. So let's say you struggle with one concept and you want to take a practice quiz again, you should be able to do that. And it should only give you questions that you haven't gotten right before. So that's kind of what the first week is going to look like, right? So Wednesday, kind of introductory course stuff. Friday, some foundational background in what we mean when we talk about English grammar. And then Sunday, a little snippet of what it will look like as we start digging into specific grammatical concepts. As we move into the future weeks, what your weeks are going to look like is you will have reading from a book. For every chapter you're reading from a book, I have a lecture with lecture notes, so lots of videos for you to go through. There's a course notebook, and there's a link in the menu where if you click course notebook, you can go and you have access to all of the videos and all of the notes. I've heard from some of your peers who have taken the class in the past that in some ways that those like lectures are easier to understand than the textbook. That's fine. You can purchase the textbook if you'd like a reference, but for whatever reason, it is weirdly hard to get. So I will be posting PDFs of all of the readings that you need. So you don't actually have to purchase anything. If you'd like something to have, then go for it. It's in the bookstore. If they've been able to get it. Otherwise, I will be posting the readings because we just don't have time to wait 3 weeks for you to get it. So those kind of bits of information are there as framework for the concepts that you'll be working with. For each concept, you'll have a practice quiz. It will look like you have a lot of practice quizzes, but I've isolated it by concept. So that way, let's say like you're struggling with like subject identification, you can focus on that specific quiz and take it again and again before you get to the unit quiz, which will cover everything that we've addressed in that week. So the unit quiz is actually where the majority of your grade is going to come from. You can take the quiz at the end of the week. Unit quizzes are always due on Sundays. And let's say that for whatever reason you miss absolutely every question on a unit quiz, that is completely fine. The way that I have the course designed is that you will get to see what questions you've gotten incorrect. You will not see the correct answers, and that's because I have a makeup points assignment for every single quiz. So if you want to earn back those quiz points, all you have to do is go through the questions that you got incorrect, respond to the questions that I have, try and figure out what went wrong, and try and figure out the correct answer. And as long as you're doing that, you will probably get at least partial credit on every question. So the course is really designed so that you are able to get the grade that you want. And if you're having a difficult time, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to Zoom with anybody who needs. By the time we get to the final, it is actually worth the least amount of your grade. the participation assignments, so practice quizzes, the reading you're doing the first couple of weeks, those are worth about 30% of your grade. The unit quizzes and makeup point assignments are worth 60% of your grade. And so the final is actually worth a fairly small chunk of your grade. What it will function as really is a post test that will let us kind of compare where you started with where you're finishing. So just so you have an idea of kind of how the course is designed, that's what we're looking at. So I hope that you find the information useful and interesting. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I've done my best to kind of design it so that it is pretty self-explanatory. So you'll click the Start Here button. And for those of you who are new to Perusall, at the bottom of this page, there's a video that should introduce you to Perusall. But if you have any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out via Canvas or via email. I look forward to working with all of you, and I hope at minimum you come away with an understanding that English is a beautiful language, but also a crazy insane language. And you will understand what I mean probably by the end of the first week. So I look forward to working with you guys and have fun exploring the class.